Charges laid against 16 suspects in connection with the JPEX financial fraud case. Ombudsman weighs in to probe the handling of medical complaints. And Shenzhou 20's return delayed by possible space debris hit. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Police revealed today charges have been laid against 16 suspects in connection with the JPEX scandal, a large-scale financial fraud case involving a cryptocurrency trading platform and some 2,700 victims. Police have also issued red notices via the Interpol to track down 3 ringleaders still at large. 2 years after the cryptocurrency platform JPEX scandal came to light, one of those facing fresh charges is influencer Joseph Lam Chok, the lawyer who represented him earlier, spotted at the North Point police station. Lam is among the 80 people rounded up in relation to the JPEX case. This time, 16 of those were prosecuted, including 6 core members of the alleged fraud scheme and 7 people linked to over-the-counter crypto exchange branches. Apart from Joseph Lam Chok, another online personality, Chen Yi, and 2 other influencers, as well as the then COO and general manager of crypto exchange CoinGuru, are facing charges. 3 are suspected stooge account holders. The suspects face charges including conspiracy to defraud, money laundering, and obstructing the course of justice. For the first time, police are invoking the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Ordinance to prosecute the suspects who allegedly induce others to invest in virtual assets fraudulently or recklessly. The maximum penalty is 7 years in jail and a $1 million fine. Interpol has issued red notices targeting 3 suspected core members who remain on the run. The police note that JPEX is a very complex case with a large number of victims and significant amount of losses. No company or individual has so far admitted to being the ringleader of JPEX. And as the case involves large-scale crypto transfers and the emerging virtual asset market, police have been working with multidisciplinary experts and the Securities and Futures Commission to conduct the probes. The scandal surfaced in September 2023 when the SFC flagged the JPEX platform for suspected fraud activities, noting that it was operating without a license while aggressively promoting its services. Soon after, many investors reported being charged exorbitant withdrawal fees or having funds frozen or transferred without consent. More than 2,700 victims have filed reports involving losses exceeding $1.6 billion. Another step towards more frictionless travel across the border between Hong Kong, Macau, and mainland China. Multiple checkpoints have introduced facial recognition border clearance from today, allowing eligible travelers to cross by scanning their faces, with more streamlined border inspection procedures at the Hung Chin port bordering Macau. Samantha Lee reports.
At the Hung Chin port, travelers only need to present their identity documents the first time to register. After that, they just need to look into the camera at the gate, go through biometric scanning of their face and fingerprint before gliding through automated barriers, and they are done, completing border clearance checks for both Zhuhai and Macau in one go. This Macau resident says it's about 30 seconds to 1 minute faster than previously, because it took time to dig out your ID and wait for the machine to run. This Hung Chin citizen says, assuming you forget to bring your ID card, you could still cross with the face scan, which is much more convenient. Hong Kong, meanwhile, has begun facial recognition clearance at Shenzhen Bay since November last year. The National Immigration Administration recently announced that the biometric service will be extended to other mainland ports, covering Lo Wu, Huanggang, and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. In the morning, at the Lo Wu border, some travelers tried the document-free lane, while some say it's faster. Others are still adjusting, like this woman who says it took some time for her to figure out how the new procedure works. The system applies to Hong Kong and Macau residents aged 14 or above with a valid home return permit, as well as mainland residents with valid travel permits to Hong Kong and Macau. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The Office of the Ombudsman announced that it will launch an investigation into a medical complaint that has dragged on for 15 years. This came after the Medical Council's decision to terminate the inquiry into a pediatrician accused of a mistake that left a child with cerebral palsy and quadriplegia. The watchdog hopes the probe can sort out procedural inadequacy and offer recommendations for handling medical complaints. Samantha Lee again.
In 2009, a mainland wife traveled to Hong Kong to give birth to her son, but he was incapacitated for life after birth. The couple filed a complaint against the doctors involved. The proceedings, however, were halted by the Medical Council in late October this year, as it ruled it would be unfair for the doctor to go on trial after such a long time. Ombudsman Jack Chan said he was highly concerned that the Secretariat of the Medical Council, which is under the Department of Health, failed to explain the 15-year delay. He said the complaint information suggested that the administrative support for the various medical-related committees could have significant delays or is ineffective. The investigation will review the Secretariat's role in handling healthcare complaints and the Department of Health's responsibilities in overseeing the healthcare sector. Tim Pang, a patients' rights advocate from the Society for Community Organization, hopes the probe could assess whether the Medical Council placed the patients' rights below those of the doctor in question. Meanwhile, chairperson of the inquiry panel, Grace Tang, who is also the chair of the Medical Council, did not respond to the incident. When asked about the reason for the delay, she said the council will review its decision on November 22nd. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Shenzhou 20 spacecraft has delayed its return to Earth after the vessel was possibly hit by tiny bits of space debris, according to the China Manned Space Agency. The agency is conducting an impact analysis and risk assessment. There is no new schedule yet for the return mission, which was originally set to land in northern China on Wednesday. The delay highlights the danger of space travel posed by increasing amounts of space debris. Space junk has led to a growing call for cooperation on managing space traffic. A United Nations panel on space traffic coordination said last year that urgent action was necessary. China is to suspend its 24% additional tariff on U.S. goods for 1 year, but retain a 10% levy, according to the State Council's Tariff Commission. The commission also announced Beijing will lift some tariffs of up to 15% on agricultural goods. These follow last week's meeting between President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump. The announcement came on the day when the U.S. Supreme Court is to start a hearing on the Trump administration's tariffs. Trump's press secretary Caroline Leavitt said the case is about the use of the emergency authorization for tariffs for future presidents, and that Trump officials are confident that the Supreme Court will do the right thing. The 6th-day China International Import Expo kick-started today, bringing together a record number of participating companies in Shanghai. In his opening remarks, Premier Li Qiang lashed out at unilateralism and protectionism, which he says would undermine global economic and trade order, and put forward a 3-point proposal. Chief Executive John Lee also attended the expo with his delegation and toured the Hong Kong exhibition area. Danny Zhou has the story.
More than 4,100 overseas enterprises from 155 countries, regions and international organizations are taking part in the 8th China International Import Expo, or CIIE. Premier Li spoke at the opening ceremony this morning that he was attending the event for 8 consecutive years. He said, as the Chinese saying goes, those who benefit all will be supported by all, noting Beijing has been sharing China's mammoth market size with openness and inclusiveness. Li has outlined 3 perspectives that should be steadfastly adhered to in terms of global economy and trade, namely upholding equality and mutual benefit, committing to morality and advancing governance and reforms. He added tariff has become a buzzword this year. Decoupling and barriers of various forms have seriously undermined global norms and disrupted business operations around the world. He also highlighted the certainty and openness of China's economy following the conclusion of the CPC's 4th plenum, saying the focus would be fostering high-quality development and expanding domestic demand, especially buoyant consumption. According to Li, the Chinese economy is likely to surpass 170 trillion yuan in 5 years and will make new contributions to global economic development. Meanwhile, Hong Kong is catching much of the spotlight in this year's Expo with a total of 380 participating firms, a 30% rise from last year. Chief Executive John Lee accompanied the premiere in touring the Hong Kong exhibition area and reported the SAR's key rankings and brand advantages. Lee has expressed firm support to the CIIE, which he says is a very successful platform in introducing products to the mainland and the world. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
And still ahead, cargo plane crash killed at least 7 in Louisville, Kentucky. Cebu province under a state of calamity following typhoon destruction. And affordable smart eyewear on show at Hong Kong's Optical Fair. Welcome back. Democrats dominated the first major election day since President Donald Trump returned to the White House. Democrats on Tuesday won governors' races in Virginia and New Jersey, the only states electing new chief executives this year. And the Democrat was elected mayor of New York City. They also swept a trio of state Supreme Court contests in swing state Pennsylvania and ballot measures from Colorado to Maine. Tracy Furness has more.
Democrat Zohran Mamdani celebrates his election win to become the new mayor of New York City with his supporters Tuesday and joined on stage by his wife and his parents.
Zohran Mamdani has pulled off a stunning ascent and at age 34 will become New York's youngest mayor in more than a century and its most liberal in generations. He ran a polarizing and ambitious campaign, promising things like free childcare, free city buses, city-run grocery stores. Donald Trump went after him, calling him a communist and threatening to both arrest and deport Mamdani, who was born in Uganda but is a U.S. citizen. But Mamdani did beat former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was trying to mount a big comeback of his own 4 years after resigning office amid sexual harassment allegations. It didn't work.
In New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill was elected governor.
So thank you to everyone who's joined me in fighting for a better future. I know these are tough times.
Sherrill shoring up Democratic control of a state that has been reliably blue in presidential and Senate contests, but had shown signs of shifting rightward in recent years. And in Virginia, former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger defeated Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, who was outraised by the Democrat and failed to earn the endorsement of President Donald Trump.
Let me underscore.
And Democrat California Governor Gavin Newsom celebrating victory in the state-by-state redistricting battle that will help determine which party wins control of the U.S. House in 2026. Proposition 50 gives Democrats a shot of winning as many as 5 additional seats, just enough to blunt Texas Republicans' move to redraw their own maps to pick up 5 GOP seats at Trump's urging. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The U.S. government shutdown has entered its 36th day, breaking the record as the longest ever. It has disrupted the lives of millions of Americans with federal program cuts, flight delays, and federal workers nationwide left without paychecks. Daniel Rao has the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump has refused to negotiate with Democrats over their demands to salvage expiring health insurance subsidies until they agree to reopen the government. However, skeptical Democrats question whether the Republican president will keep his word, particularly after the administration restricted SNAP food aid despite court orders to ensure funds are available to prevent hunger. Trump, whose first term at the White House set the previous government shutdown record, is set to meet early on Wednesday for breakfast with GOP senators. Still, no talks have been scheduled with the Democrats. Central to any endgame will be a series of agreements that would need to be upheld not only by the Senate but also the House, and the White House, which is not at all certain in Washington. Senators from both parties, particularly the powerful members of the Appropriations Committee, are pushing to ensure the normal government funding process in Congress can be put back on track. Among the goals is guaranteeing upcoming votes on a smaller package of bills where there is already widespread bipartisan agreement to fund various aspects of government, like agricultural programs and military construction projects at bases. A substantial number of senators also want some resolution to the standoff over the funding for the Affordable Care Act subsidies that are set to expire at the year's end. Republicans are reluctant to fund the healthcare program, also known as Obamacare, without reforms. The White House says its position remains unchanged and that Democrats must vote to fund the government before talks over healthcare can begin. Trump has been pushing the senators to do away with the Senate filibuster rule that requires 60 votes to advance most legislation as a way to reopen the government. Many senators argue the Senate rule, while infuriating at times, ensures the minority party can be a check on the administration, which is important when power shifts in Washington. Dan Rao, TV News.
At least 7 people were killed and 11 injured when a UPS cargo plane crashed and exploded in a massive fireball while taking off from the company's global aviation hub adjacent to Louisville International Airport in Kentucky. The plane was departing for Honolulu at the time of the crash Tuesday. Tracy Furness has more.
Video of a UPS cargo plane with 3 people aboard igniting on the runway. Flames seen on the plane's left wing and a trail of smoke.
Hold on. I think it's gonna crash, bro.
Then a large explosion sending thick black smoke into the air. Another motorist capturing this video of the explosion from the highway leading to Louisville Mohammed Ali International Airport, where UPS's World Port Hub is located. Huge plumes of thick black smoke rising from the crash site. 7 people were killed, 3 of whom were on board the plane, and 11 hurt, some with very significant injuries in the crash Tuesday evening, according to Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear.
At approximately 5:14 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, UPS Flight 2976 from Louisville, Kentucky to Honolulu, Hawaii, with 3 crew members on board, was involved in a catastrophic crash here in Louisville, adjacent to our airport.
UPS's largest handling facility is in Louisville, and the company had announced Tuesday night it had halted package sorting at the center and didn't say when it would resume. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Typhoon Maggie has left at least 66 people dead and 26 others missing. In the Philippines, many in widespread flooding in the central province of Cebu. The flooding engulfed residential communities, forcing residents to climb up to their roofs and sweeping away scores of cars. Apart from flooding, some of the deaths were caused by landslides and falling debris. 6 of those killed were Philippines Air Force personnel whose helicopter crashed while en route to help provide humanitarian aid to provinces battered by the storm. Cebu is still recovering from a 6.9 magnitude earthquake on September 30th that left at least 79 people dead and displaced thousands. There are mounting concerns over killings in Tanzania during and after last week's election. The largest opposition party charges that the security forces were secretly dumping the bodies of hundreds killed in the violence. Chadema official Deogracius Munishi said the party would not enter into any political pact with the government until there are electoral and judicial reforms. Tanzanian authorities have not responded to Chadema's claim of more than 1,000 deaths. President Samia Suluhu Hassan acknowledged in her inaugural speech that there have been loss of life and urged security agencies to ensure a return to normalcy. A female worker died after being struck by a collapsed wall during the demolition of a village house in Yuen Long. The incident occurred at the village house on Shan Pui Road. The victim, in her 40s, was pulled from the rubble. She was rushed to Pak Oi Hospital but was certified dead. Police received a report at 11 a.m. that a worker was trapped beneath a fallen wall. The Association for the Rights of Industrial Accident Victims urges the authorities to thoroughly investigate the cause of the incident. The first phase of the southbound travel for Guangdong vehicle scheme will roll out on November 15th, allowing approved Guangdong private cars to enter via the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and park their cars at the airport's park and fly facility. Located on an artificial island at the Hong Kong International Airport, the 24-hour, 5-story fully automated car park provides 1,800 spaces initially. Registered drivers under the southbound scheme can park here and then take transfer flights at the Hong Kong airport. The site operates in a closed-loop mode, and travelers do not enter Hong Kong for local clearance. During the first 3 days, parking will cost $100 per day, then $50 per day thereafter. More than 660 eyewear exhibitors from 19 countries and regions are gathering in Hong Kong to showcase their latest smart vision tech and designs. Take a look. From designer frames and senior care eye tech to sustainable manufacturing solutions, the 33rd International Optical Fair opens at the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai. A German eyewear maker says while Sino-US trade tension has eased lately, they have sought to diversify their partners and markets in both the East and West.
Overall, global cooperation is really required. And yeah, I see a benefit in Hong Kong here as well, because it's important to diversify, and therefore having multiple ways into different markets is certainly the way to go.
This Dongguan-based exhibitor developing next-generation smart wearable devices says Hong Kong is a critical gateway connecting Chinese innovation with global markets.
加一副普通眼镜，它的大概的售价的话是在1000块钱左右。
Li Lei, the company's general manager, says smart eyewear, usually around 1,000 Hong Kong dollars a piece, combines Shenzhen manufacturing strengths and new tech innovation, boasting smart acoustics and voice interaction functions, but also a lightweight build and a snap fit.
Some of the smart glasses here also feature instant translation capabilities in 120 languages. For example, Cantonese, Vietnamese, and even Dutch. Now, with my Ukrainian friend here who speaks Russian, we can say something like, Bonjour, enchanté, je suis ravi de vous rencontrer.
Рада познакомиться.
All right, just like this.
The three-day trade show will end on Friday.
A reminder before we go, because of the live coverage of the 15th National Games on our channel, our news at 7:30 tomorrow and on Friday will be aired at 10 p.m. instead. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.